Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges, advocate for OCD, in particular Pure OCD, which is the community name for individuals with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. It also happens to be the name of my memoir, Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I'm a certified peer support specialist, working with people around the world, providing support wherever they are in the recovery from OCD. I can also provide referrals for therapists anywhere in the world. I also run 8-week closed groups through my practice, and I have an online community where you can connect with people with OCD. We run weekly support groups and have all kinds of events and classes regarding OCD. You can check all that stuff out at chrissyhodges.com or email me for more information. NoCD and OCD is an app. Inside that app, you can connect with people. There are resources. They also do ERP telehealth. ERP is the gold standard of treatment for OCD. And so with NoCD, you can get that treatment. To find out if they serve you in wherever country you are, go to treatmyocd.com. Today, I wanted to talk about acceptance. This is such a big word for OCD. It's a big word in general for a lot of the things that we go through as human beings. But for OCD, it can be a very complex and complicated concept to grasp. I know I've talked about this before, but I think it's always worth revisiting. It's something that always comes up in group. So I want to talk a little bit about what acceptance means to me and what it does not mean to me in regards to my experience with OCD, because it's really the only I can talk about. And then I want to talk about some of the challenges that we face when it comes to acceptance. So, okay, what is acceptance for me? Acceptance was something that was really hard for me to grasp, I think, for a really long time because, and I've said this before on many videos, I think I always thought that acceptance was this way of trying to package up OCD as when I cross the finish line, or acceptance is crossing the finish line and then everything is all, rainbows and roses and, unicorns and stuff like that. And it's not. And I think that tripped me up for a really long time. You would hear these things that were just practice acceptance, and then some stuff about radical acceptance, which I didn't really know what that was either until recently. And then, once I started to explore acceptance for what it meant for me, and not just what I was reading on social media or what other people were saying, or kind of trying to shove acceptance down my throat, then I started to really understand what it meant. So I'm going to explain to you what acceptance means to me. Acceptance definitely is not this stage that I finally got to and, I'm seeing over the hill all the beautiful scenery and I can live with OCD and everything is, peaceful. It's not that. What it really is this painful process of, continual discovery about having a life with OCD. Now, you may not want to hear that. You may want to hear, well, girl, I'm going to keep searching for the key. I don't want to hear that you're going to have OCD the rest of your life. And you don't have to believe that. And that is what I subscribed to for many, many, many years and continued to suffer. And the remedy to that suffering was acceptance. Now, acceptance is not approval. And it's not being weak. And it's not getting run all over by OCD and surrendering and relenting to, oh my gosh, now life is going to be, so torturous every single day because I'm practicing acceptance. Acceptance for me didn't come until very long after symptom management. So I considered myself to be in symptom recovery, meaning I know what to do when I'm deep in symptoms. I know how to structure out an exposure response prevention plan. My challenge in recovery is believing it's OCD, especially when the themes are different and I don't recognize that it's OCD. Obviously, I look to the compulsions, but it feels so real. Sometimes I'm like, this can't be OCD. But acceptance, on the other hand, is really the practice of getting to know what my life is like with OCD being alongside my life. For many, many years, and I know that we all do this, I searched for the key. I lived in denial for a very long time, especially after effective treatment. And during those years, I suffered a great deal because OCD was switching themes here and there. ways that I couldn't ever recognize it was OCD because it wasn't on my radar. And I really just wanted to believe once I got effective treatment for my theme, which was sexual orientation, it was gone. That was it. But I didn't realize that I have a brain that has OCD. The acceptance piece is that I don't see that brain as disordered anymore. I see it as Chrissy Hodges' brain. We are very much alike in our brains and the way that we think and the way that we deal with things, especially probably rumination and mental review and avoidance. But this is my brain. This is who I am with OCD. I don't need to be defined by it, and I don't need to define OCD by myself. But the acceptance piece is, in a way, it is surrendering to believing that this is going to be part of my life for the rest of my life, but continuing to strive to get to know it better in relation to my own brain and my own thought processes, my own thought processing, how it interacts with my everyday life, with things that aren't obscure, like sexual orientation OCD or taboo intrusive thoughts or relationship themes and stuff like that. It is, my brain operates on wanting uncertainty, and sometimes when I don't get it, I ruminate. Acceptance also for me, especially the radical acceptance piece, I can do a separate video, I may already have, radical acceptance being like accepting the here and now for what it is, and not wishing that I was where I used to be, or projecting into the future of what things are going to be like because of what's happening right now, which is very hard for us. We tend to live in the past and the future with OCD. And even in the present, we get taken away from that because of avoidance. So our compulsions keep us out of the present moment. And for me, practicing radical acceptance, which is staying out of the woe is me, what was my life like before I had this theme or before I had OCD in general, and staying out of the, oh my God, my life is ruined forever because I have this theme now, or because I read that article or watched that movie or whatever. It keeps me focused on here's where we're at right now, so I can make more informed decisions, even if where I'm at right now is struggling. At least I am present in what is happening right now, and I'm not busy in the past or in the future trying to solve things that can't be solved when you're in the present. That is radical acceptance. Seeing things for how they are right at this very moment, knowing that you can and will endure that, and, you know, kind of hoping for the best, that you can make decisions right now moving forward, but not staying victimized by the past of wishing that it was what it used to be. So radical acceptance to me was a game changer. It was it helped very much with self-compassion and self-love. It is the, you know, for me to be able to look at my past and say everything has happened for whatever reason it happened. I did the best that I could in the past, and whatever is going on for me right now, I'm going to make more informed decisions. So in my future, I'm either stronger and wiser when it comes to recognizing obsessive compulsive disorder, honing my skills in the present, and not sabotaging the future based on what's happening right now. So that's been a game changer, especially when it comes to reviewing the past and thinking about things that have happened. It's helped with self-compassion, and it's helped with self-love. I am who I am today because of all the things that have happened in my past, good and bad. And now, if I'm not being present in the past, ruminating about the past or mentally reviewing the past, now I can be present in the here and now and make informed decisions moving forward to my future. So yeah, I mean, acceptance has been hard for me. I have to practice acceptance daily. It's so much easier to want to do compulsions. It's so much easier to, you know, look for the key and to continue to look for things that would make this go away. Acceptance is, again, it's not like rolling over and taking it. It's just basically like, okay, this is what we've got, and I'm not going to fight against that anymore. And so some things might be a little more challenging for me. But that doesn't mean that I have to view myself as disordered. It just means I have accepted that this is how my brain operates, and therefore I'm not disappointed when it operates that way. I hope that makes sense. Just wanted to go over a few challenges. I actually wrote this on my Instagram a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. If you're on Instagram, follow me at PureOChrissy. Some of the challenges of acceptance. Worrying that choosing acceptance means you're choosing to believe the thoughts are real and valid. This is a real fear, right? So it's important to realize that acceptance doesn't mean approval. Of like, okay, I'm going to accept that this is my theme. I'm going to accept that these are the intrusive thoughts I have. This is not the, I'm going to approve of these intrusive thoughts, and I'm so glad that I have them, and now I'm going to enjoy them. It's not that at all. What it's doing, or acceptance for me in this realm is, this is what we're dealing with right now. This is what is going on for me. And I'm not going to sit here and wish that it was different, or rue over the past, wishing that I didn't have this theme. Now, that may happen for me. Some sadness, despair, absolutely. But being able to say, okay, if I'm going to actively practice acceptance, I can safely assume that I'm practicing this acceptance to say, I know that this is going on, and I'm going to make a plan on how to deal with this, instead of feeling like, oh my God, accepting this means I approve of it, or I want the thoughts. And that's a big thing for people, is being very scared of practicing acceptance, because they're scared that means you're crossing over into well, that must mean I'm accepting it. I am accepting that I might be this thing, or this person, or this whatever, this monster that is making me have these taboo, intrusive thoughts. Okay, so this is a good one. If I practice acceptance, I may get used to the thoughts, start to like them, and then I'll realize I've just been in denial. That is another reason why people repel acceptance, is they're so worried that they are going to accept them. Again, it's along the same lines. They're going to accept them, and then they're going to start to like them and get used to them, and they're going to find out the whole time you were just in denial. And by practicing acceptance, you're going to find out your true identity. That's not the case. Again, acceptance is just accepting in the present of this is what is going on, and trying not to fight with it. Because as we know, when we're fighting with it, OCD gets bigger. The fight is the compulsions. The fight is I'm going to Google, I'm going to this, trying to fight what's going on in your brain. The fight perpetuates the cycle. Not fighting, which is kind of accepting. Okay, I'm going to accept that this is part of what is going on with me right now. I'm accepting that my OCD is producing these thoughts. Is not being in denial. It's not liking it. It's not giving it approval. And it's not going to end up with you being like, all along this was the truth, and I was just not wanting to accept it. Okay, so this is a great one. By practicing acceptance, I have to accept that I'm going to suffer every single day. This is the opposite of acceptance. And to be honest with you, this is one of the reasons why I repelled acceptance for a long time, because I was interpreting acceptance as, if I accept that I have this every day for the rest of my life, that means I might suffer every day for the rest of my life. This is a big one that makes people resist acceptance. That is just so not the truth. With OCD, accepting that you have this disorder gives you options. It gives you the ability to say, okay, here is, again, radical acceptance, this present day check of what's going on. Now what can I do with it? I'm empowered to make a decision, instead of let me deny it, let me do compulsions, let me try to get rid of it, because now you're just suffering because you're trying to fight it. You're trying to get rid of it. That creates the suffering. By not accepting it and saying, I refuse to accept that I have OCD for the rest of my life, or that, it may pop up later on, you're actually perpetuating the suffering. Instead of just saying, it may seem like a far-fetched example, but it's not. This is like saying, I refuse to accept that I have diabetes. And I'm just going to keep searching for the key to heal my pancreas outside of my pancreas needing insulin or or needing a pump, or needing, to change my lifestyle, or to get the help that I need in order to manage my diabetes. You're not going to do that with a physical ailment. So why would you do it with OCD? Because it's hard to accept. But accepting it doesn't translate to suffering immensely all the time. I've accepted that I have OCD. I don't suffer every day. I don't suffer often from OCD. I mean, I do every once in a while, but I certainly do not suffer the way that I did years and years and years ago, and especially before I started practicing acceptance, because acceptance helped give me the ability to see what my brain is and isn't capable of and how to work around that. It makes the bubble bigger that I live in instead of making it smaller by trying to fight it. And then lastly, acceptance can seem like it's too simple. A lot of times when we have our themes and they get so complex, and especially when you're dealing with the I must be a monster, or these horrible themes like, am I a murderer, or am I a pedophile, or, is it incest or bestiality? These things that we look at and we go, oh my God, this is not who I am. Why am I having these thoughts? Sometimes with OCD, and I don't think I've ever really mentioned this, so I'm glad I'm mentioning it now, is sometimes OCD seems too simple of an answer to such a complex issue going on in our brain, especially when your body gets involved, when you're having the groinal and things like that, and you just feel a ton of shame and guilt, or just, misery and suffering with this. It's hard to just accept that OCD is just the answer. And the reason why is it feels too real. I remember when I was first diagnosed with OCD, and it happened in the relapse. When the relapse happened about a year later, when I got off medication, I remember thinking, this just cannot be OCD. It's too complex in my brain. It involves too many body parts, too much stuff going on in my body for this to have such a simple answer as it to be OCD. It's almost like I just needed it to be something different, and it was just me making an excuse. OCD was just an excuse, for whatever was going on in my brain. So a lot of times practicing acceptance is one of those things where you just go, well, I'm not going to accept this because it's too simple of a explanation for everything that's going on. And then a lot of times people go down the line of like, well, what if I accept that this is OCD and this is really who I am, and I end up harming someone and blah, 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 blah. But that is not what acceptance is. And yes, it is this simple. I mean, it's not simple, but it is. I always say, if it looks like OCD, if it sounds like OCD, if it feels like OCD, you're still not going to believe it's OCD. But you can. The first step is choosing to believe it's OCD, and you can make that choice. A lot of what I say a lot in recovery for me is just choosing to believe that this is OCD. Because sometimes it feels so real and it goes against everything to think there's no possible way this is OCD. But if the compulsions are there, and I know my pattern, if the compulsions are there, if the same distress is there that is in my brain and the same things happen every single time, I can safely trust that cycle. That's what exposure response prevention therapy does, is it helps you practice being in that cycle so you can recognize it when you're actually out in the real world and OCD hits. So with that said, thanks for listening. I hope that this made sense. If you're looking for therapists, I can do referral consultations, peer support. I do peer support. I have 8-week closed groups, and I have an online community for you as well. Go to ChrissyHodges.com or email me. Also, NoCD, and NoCD is an app. They do telehealth with ERP many, many places around the world. Check them out at treatmyocd.com. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.